I'm just not good at maths. This is a phrase I've heard over and over again in my classroom. Hi, my name's Ria and I'm a maths teacher here in England. And today I want to talk to you about identity, opportunity, and the quiet message that shape who we believe we can become. Because when a girl says, I'm not good at maths, she isn't describing her ability, she's describing her experience of anxiety, of expectation, of culture, and the subtle gendered message that began long before she even entered the classroom. It's about identifying the forces, the psychological, sociological, and structural things in place that prevent girls and women to step into maths and STEM with confidence, belonging, and power. So let's start with the emotional landscape. Maths anxiety is real. It's not a lack of intelligence, it's a fear response. Research shows that girls experience higher levels of maths anxiety than boys, not because they're less capable, if anything, they're more than capable, but because they are more exposed to the messages that undermine their confidence. Teachers with high maths anxiety, especially female teachers, unintentionally pass this anxiety on to girls. Girls are praised for neatness and accuracy, and boys for risk taking and problem solving. When girls make a mistake, they often interpret it as a lack of ability, but when boys make a mistake, they interpret it as part of the process. This is the psychology of gendered learning, and it begins shockingly early. It even begins at home, with gendered play and the toys that shape the mind. Before a child even enters the classroom, they have already been shaped by the toys that we place in their hands. Sociological research has shown that gendered play creates gendered cognitive pathways. For example, construction toys like Lego, puzzles, and building sets are typically given to boys to strengthen their spatial reasoning, whereas dolls and domestic toys and craft sets are typically given to girls, strengthening their social and verbal skills. Both are valuable, but only one consistently is rewarded in STEM. Spatial reasoning is one of the strongest predictors of later success in maths, physics, and engineering. So, when girls receive fewer opportunities to develop these skills, the attainment gap doesn't begin in year 7. It begins in the toy aisle in Toys R Us. So let's look at the data. What the UK education system tells us. The Department of Education data shows that at the end of primary school, boys slightly outperform girls in maths. In 2023, girls' maths attainment fell while boys rose. At GCSE, physics remained the most gender segregated science. Boys dominate high passes and girls dominate biology. At A-level, girls are significantly underrepresented in physics, further maths, and computer science. Socioeconomic disadvantage compounds this issue as well. 80% of underserved students take combined science, limiting access to physics and STEM pathways. Let's even look at the women in STEM. Across the UK workforce, women remain underrepresented in engineering, physics, computer science, and senior STEM leadership. The STEM pipeline narrows sharply at each stage, at GCSE, A-level, university, and career progression as well. This is not a story of ability, it's the story of access, expectation, and systemic design. If we take a deeper look into the sociological lens of gender identity and opportunity, sociology helps us to understand the deeper forces at play. First is the stereotype threat. When girls are reminded even subtly of the stereotype that boys are better at maths, their performance drops, not because they lack ability, but because their cognitive load increases. Even our textbooks, or even if you ask a child a question of who's an engineer or who's a construction worker, they're more likely to point at the men in their life rather than a woman, which is part of the stereotype threat. The second is teacher expectations. Teachers often unconsciously encourage boys towards advanced maths and physics more than girls. A raised eyebrow, a hesitant comment, a suggestion to choose something you feel you're more confident in. These shape trajectories. The third is curriculum representation. STEM is still taught through a male-dominated historical lens. When girls don't see themselves in the story, they struggle to imagine themselves in that future. And then it's intersectionality. Gender doesn't operate alone. Ethnicity, class, and school context all shape STEM progression. Girls from disadvantaged backgrounds face the steepest barriers. So let's work on rewriting the narrative and changing the story. How do we close this attainment gap? How do we build a system where girls thrive in maths and STEM? The first things first, reframe maths as growth and not a talent. We must dismantle the myth that you're a maths person or you're an English person. Ability is not fixed, it's developed. The second is to degender play. Encourage girls to build, experiment, code, solve, and take risks. Spatial reasoning is not just male, it's human. The third is to train teachers in maths anxiety awareness. Teachers need tools to recognize their own anxiety, to avoid transmitting it, and to build confidence through modeling and language. The fourth is to increase representation. This is something I'm really passionate about. Girls need to see women in STEM and thriving in STEM and just killing it in the field. Girls need to see women in the curriculum, in the classroom, in leadership, in media. Representation is not a decoration, it's an intervention, people. It's an intervention. Okay. And the fifth is to create brave spaces, not perfect spaces. Girls need environments where mistakes are normal and it's encouraged, and that it's okay to fail, and failure is part of the process. That questions are welcomed, and you create a culture of error where you can ask any question, and that phrase of no question is a stupid question, that we can learn from each other's questions and collaborate. Risk taking is celebrated. Confidence grows in the presence of psychological safety. The biggest risk you can give your child is allowing them to take no risks at all. And then strengthening pathways. Schools must encourage children, especially their girls, into triple science, promote physics and further maths, offer mentoring, STEM clubs, and industry partnerships. Pathways must be visible, accessible, and supported. Even you, as parents, can take your children into science museums and other mentorship programs and other university programs that are offering summer schools and actually investing books and learning and educational play for your children to encourage their spark into STEM. Maths isn't hard. What's hard is navigating a system which was not built with girls in mind. But systems can change and cultures can shift and narratives can be rewritten. Every girl deserves to walk into a maths classroom and feel, I belong here, I can do this, and this world is also mine. And when we create that world, a world where girls are empowered, confident, and supported, we don't just change maths outcomes. We change futures, we change industries, we change society. Because talent is universal. Opportunity is not. And it's our responsibility collectively to close that gap. So if this video resonated with you and you're equally as passionate about maths anxiety and the gender disparity in education, leave a comment down below. What do you think is preventing girls or women to go into these STEM subjects and this STEM field? And what can we do as educators to promote it? And how can we collaborate with parents, with other industries and corporate partnerships in order to enhance the next generation and the future leaders in this industry? Leave a comment down below, and if you are looking for a speaker in your schools, in your universities, or in your youth groups, leave a comment down below or message me and we shall be in touch. Take care. Bye.